For your opening retreat, for your Revive course, we're asking you to come prepared with your spiritual storyline. So I hope you can take half an hour to sit down and just prayerfully sketch out the story of your spiritual life, your journey with God. And I think you'll find that to be a really helpful, reflective thing to do. And then come prepared to share that with the others so that we can get to know more about each other at a spiritual level. First of all, you take a piece of paper, maybe a bit bigger than this, draw a line, and then just draw another line for each of the decades of your life. Above the line, you're going to put all the things that drew you closer to God. The times when you felt close to God and that you just knew that God was with you. And below, you're going to put the times that God felt far away and some of the things that drew you away from God. And then just see how the Holy Spirit inspires you and what themes emerge as you think about your own spiritual journey. Let me show you mine. So this is what mine turned out. And so what you can do is take a piece of paper, you can use colored pens, you can use stickers, whatever it is that helps you with your spiritual journey and expresses for you what that journey has been like. And that the theme that emerged for me was the question, where are you? That there were times in my life where I said to God, where are you? And the phrase that came back to me so often was, I am with you always, just as Jesus promised for us. And so, for example, as I began my story, I talked about how I drew a church, and I drew a nice flower on top of that. And that was the church I grew up at, St. Faith's. And that was a wonderful Christian community in which I drew close to God through community. And I loved that church. It was a founding church in my life. It was a time of feeling really close to God through his community. And it's also where I learned about music as well in church. And I put here a little fire. That's because I got involved in the charismatic movement as a teenager. I gave my life to the Lord and began to experience the movement of the Holy Spirit in my life. And so all of that was something that made me feel very close to God. But then down I wrote diabetes. And that was because I was diagnosed with having diabetes at 18. And I found that very difficult at the time. And so it was something that made me feel, God, where are you? Are you with me in this? And finding God with me always, even in that journey. Well, then when I was 22, I draw a Union flag because I moved to the United Kingdom, originally for 1 year, and turned into 12, all of my 20s into my 30s. And that was a wonderful time as a young person. I went to do my master's degree. I went to a wonderful church called Greyfriars Reading, in Reading where I lived. And I was just had a wonderful time being a young person. There were the excitements, but also the challenges. It was really hard navigating my way through life in a different country. And so there were times where I was saying, God, are you with me? And I remember when I first moved to the United Kingdom, and I stood there at Heathrow Airport with all these people all around. And I thought, God, will you be with me here? And of course, God was true to his promise. He was with me on that journey. And then in that I got married. I met my wife and got married. And then I got ordained. And we moved to Wales. And we had our two children, Jonathan and Eden. And so there was just a lot of wonderful times with the Lord there. Then we moved back to Canada. So I drew another flag. And we moved to Vancouver, where I had a job in a church. And again, there was wonderful things. It was a wonderful church. But it was also a very challenging time. There were many challenges in that church. But I found that God was with me anyways. And so in 2008, I felt God calling me to move to Montreal. And I remember as I was preparing to do that, I wasn't sure what I was going to. But I remember bowing down in an empty room in our house as we were preparing to move and saying, "Speak, Lord, your servant is listening." And hearing God's promise to be with me. So we moved to Quebec. And so now I've got the Quebec flag, where I've been for the last 12 years. And there have been some wonderful times. I ended up working for a wonderful church, and a lot of personal achievement and the joy of raising family, and a lot of fun. I became a fitness instructor, so there were things that I really enjoyed. There was also difficult times, and one of the deepest times, one of the darkest times in my life was in 2013 when I experienced depression. And it was out of that experience of going through depression that I found myself underwater. So I put that there and saying, God, where are you? Are you with me even in this? And again, there's that question, God, are you with me now here? And out of that, I wrote a new Bible verse, behold, I am a new creation. And I found new life, even through that experience. And then I turned 50, and it was a time for change, and I got a new job. And the bishop asked me to become the Congregational Development Officer for the diocese. And that to me was a real answer to prayer. And it was also very exciting because we had to move houses. And so there were some wonderful times, and are wonderful times, of drawing close to God in new situations. And of course, I wrote down 52 because that's my age, and right now we're in COVID. And I think that's that question again, God, are you with us? Are you with us even in this? And I know from that whole journey that somehow God will say, I am with you always. So that's a little bit about my spiritual journey. I look forward to sharing more of that with you. And I hope you feel free to share with us as well. And to find those places where God has been with you, both in the good times and in the bad.